we'll cover the legislative priorities so that you understand those too as well. The next one is relationship building. Now, again, Julie's going to go into detail about how to build that relationship, but I just wanted to talk about a few of the concepts of the benefits of that. So as you build your relationship with your legislator, you'll be able to share information with them, what is important to nurses. But then as you build that relationship, we want them to feel confident and comfortable coming to you for additional information. Maybe they're reviewing a bill that has something to do with healthcare, and they're going to have that relationship with you and feel trustful to contact you for more information. So we can be their resource, we can provide them with information, and we can advocate for nurses in healthcare. So that way we can help them make great decisions for all Kentuckians. And then the next slide talks a little bit about the pairing. So if you have not yet, I know I've been emailing with quite a few of you. If you have not yet, if you could please send me your legislators, who your state senator and your state house rep is. If you're not sure who that is, in this link here, and we're going to email you this PowerPoint, as well as the talking points I'm going to talk about. Will probably be later this week with Nurses Day at the Capitol. Everybody's busy, but we will get them to you so you'll have the resources. But this link on here, if you're not sure who your legislators are, you just plug in your address and then it will pull up your state legislators for where you live. So if you'll send those to me, I'll look at my master list and then pair you to one of those that I don't already have somebody paired with. So my email is listed there, but I'll also send you a reminder email. But if you haven't, please feel free to go ahead and send me that, and then I will let you know who your legislator is. I just want to stress that we are here to support you. We will provide you with resources and statistics and talking points. I'm going to go over a few of the talking points on the next slide, but I want you to understand that, you know, as you build that relationship with your legislator, it's perfectly fine to tell them if they ask a question that you're not sure of, you know, just as we do as working as a nurse, you know, I'm not sure, but let me check on that. If you send an email to Delanor, she is such a fountain of information. I cannot tell you how many times I send her an email. Do you have any information or statistics about ABC? And I get that information back so quickly. So please know that we're here for you, and Delanor has mountains of information. So whatever it is, I'm sure she has it. And if not, we can work together to make sure that we get that for you. Okay, so these, I know those are hard for you to read, but I just wanted you to see them. We are going to email you the full PDF of this information, but it's important to plan ahead as you talk with your legislators. You know, as you start to talk with them, you know, providing with them with general information about the KNA and about nursing will really get you started. And then stay up to date. Read the e-news, the special bulletins, the Kentucky Nurse, and that way you're continuously seeing the work of everybody in the KNA. But here are some facts. Facts about the KNA, such as KNA is the only professional nursing association representing all 90,000 nurses in the Commonwealth. It doesn't matter specialty or where we work, every nurse is represented by the KNA. We recommend and appoint 7 seats for the KBN to the governor. Every year we have legislative priorities, which again, we're going to discuss in just a moment. We value and focus on JEDI, justice, diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's threaded throughout everything that we do every day, every activity. A few nursing facts that legislators may not be aware of. The latest annual Gallup rating of various professionals revealed that nurses lead the nation for honesty and ethics for the 20th year in a row as the most trusted profession. All nurses are leaders, regardless of their work setting, experience, educational level. We are all leaders in our roles. Nurses comprise 53.3% of the healthcare workforce, and there are 4.4 million nurses in the United States. Nurses in Kentucky provide service to over 80 different practice areas. So obviously the hospitals is a big component of it, but there are so many other areas in, you know, community health, home health, you know, just, I could go on forever, but just know there are over 80 different practice areas. Like other professions, the nursing need is great. In Kentucky, we are projected to be at least 20,000 nurses short by 2025, which that's just 2 short years away. We know we have a shortage now, but it's projected to increase. and much, much more. So you have all of these. We will send them to you, and you'll have them to be able to share these components with your legislator. So next, I'm going to talk about the legislative priorities. What happens is we have a governmental affairs cabinet that researches and recommends legislative priorities for the Kentucky Nurses Association. It is presented to the KNA board, and they review it and then either approve or disapprove for each year. And the process for that is as outlined. And then once we move forward with them, then we try to support and provide work to improve these priorities. So the first one is workplace violence. So we are working on prevention of workplace violence. And let me just share a couple of statistics with you and why it is a priority. 48% of nurses report an increase in workplace violence. 63% of medical providers report injuries from violent attacks. Healthcare workers are 5 times more likely to experience workplace violence than any other industry. And 39 states have enacted some form of violence prevention in the workplace through legislation. Not in Kentucky yet, but we are working on a bill this year that was filed and working through the process right now. Representative Jason Nemes has worked on that with us, as well as you'll see one of our other priorities is decriminalization of nurses, and we are working on a bill for that. When you think of decriminalization, it decreases reporting of errors. We know that there are errors in healthcare that are, not criminal acts. It's not nurses working outside of their scope of practice. They are human errors, and they're generally due to systemic issues, processes. So there's also a bill that is moving forward for decriminalization of nurses. And then our third priority is workforce support, which is the nursing shortage. And it's to help healthcare providers stay in their field and ensure a just culture. And again, a couple of statistics to share with you is currently there are 36% nursing shortfall in Kentucky. So again, pretty intense. Nearly half.
Dolores, yes. I'd like to add something to that. That 36% is an increase over the 2014 number that was projected at 16,000. So that 36% is not 36% shortfall, but a projection over that 16,000 that was reported previously.
From 14. Gotcha.
Yes.
And can I add something on the workplace violence? We do in Kentucky have legislation on workplace violence that's been passed in 2012 and 2017. It's not a felony, but it's a 4th degree probable cause misdemeanor that is charged to the perpetrator of an assault occurring in a Kentucky emergency department. And then in 17, it was in Kentucky hospitals, including the parking lot, which comes with up to $1,000 fine and a year in jail.
True, Linda. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that forward. That's true. The bill that we are looking at is more prevention than right.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah, so it is where healthcare organizations will need to do assessments of their organizations. They'll need to implement a plan for prevention, provide education, and also reporting, so we can look at the statistics of how much. But you're right, Linda, there is that out there.
Thank you.
For the workforce, nearly half, 47.5% of nurses are 50 or older. So we do need to think about retirement and how our numbers of the shortage will increase. And over 1 million nurses will retire between now and 2030. And then only 16% of currently practicing nurses live in rural areas. So again, there is a great need, and we are certainly making that a priority to work on the workforce support. We also strongly support the school nurse initiative, which is where we want to get a school nurse in every school all day, every day. The SANE nurse initiative to allow funding for more certification to ensure that we have more SANE nurses to meet the needs of our communities throughout the state, and restructuring of the CAPACS. So we're continuing to support those.
Dolores, would you like to address what the difference is between those two priorities and the strongly support?
Certainly. The priorities are activities that we are actively working on, right? So we are working on those bills through the K&A, through our GA cabinet with Julie, and working with legislators. These are the three components that we are our priorities. These are things that we're going to work on throughout the year. Strongly support. These are initiatives that we are supporting others that are working on them as well. So, for example, with the restructuring of the CAPA-CS, the Nurse Practitioner Association is working on that, and they're working with legislation. So we are supporting their efforts. So that's the difference on that. Is there anything else you wanted to add on that?
Just that with this being a short session, it was a conscious, intentional decision to only have 3 priorities because there's only one Julie Denton. She can only do so much in a short session. So the GA cabinet recommended to the board that we only have 3 priorities this year because that's all the time we had. And then with the strongly support, we really do want to support other organizations because after all, our responsibility is to support 90,000 nurses, but we don't have the bandwidth to do it all. So I just wanted to bring that forward so people would understand. And the other thing is, if there are issues that any member or any nurse or any organization would like for us to support or oppose, we have on our website in the advocacy tab a form for anyone to fill out. They fill out that form, they give us the basics, it goes to the GA cabinet, as Dolores mentioned. They do the research, and then she already discussed what happens after that. But we need that done so that we have a place to start the discussion.
Right. Exactly. So if you want to bring something forward to be looked at, absolutely do that. Okay, so the next slide is Nurses Day at the Capitol, which is this Wednesday, and we hope that you can make it. It is going to be a fabulous day of, professional development, networking, and advocacy. We're going to be able to listen to the legislators and share our thoughts with them. We'll be in the House chamber in the morning and the rotunda in the afternoon, and truly, it's going to be an amazing day. I hope you can be there. Our next legislative event is going to be May 26th. It will be a legislative conference, and it's going to build on the concepts of professional development and networking. So it is going to be in person at Galen College of Nursing, and more to come on that. We're focusing our efforts right now on Nurses Day at the Capitol, and then we'll continue to finalize the agenda and get that out to everybody. But if you can make it, that would be wonderful. The date is May the 26th, so mark your calendar if you can. This slide is to let you know about a CE opportunity. It's free. It's through our learning management system or our portal. You can access it on our website, and it is building the nursing profession through professional nursing organizations. And it is where we outline the importance of all professional organizations, but of course we focus more on the K&A and the work that is done daily through the K&A, and then also talk a little bit about the difference of the K&A and the KBN. So it's an opportunity for you for one free CE, but it does outline a lot of the work for the K&A to help you be aware of that. It is on YouTube as well, if you just want to watch it on there. But you can only receive the CE if you do it through the website, through the portal. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to Julie. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Well, I'm Julie Denton, and I am the lobbyist for K&A, and thrilled to be here. I was in the state legislature for 20 years. 16 of those years I've spent chairing the Health and Welfare Committee. So I'm a dental hygienist by training, so that qualified me. I had the most medical experience when I finally became chair, because most of them were attorneys. So they knew very little. And that still continues today, that most people don't have a very in-depth knowledge about healthcare. So Dolores said that, and I'm like, yes, that's exactly right. So, and I want to say something really quick. Ida Slusher, I love your picture. I've stared at it the whole time. That is so adorable. So I just had to say something about your adorable picture.
Oh, thank you very much. It's from Kenya.
It's great. So Dolores had talked about this being a short session. So there's two kinds of sessions. Kentucky used to only have sessions every other year in even numbered years. And in 2000, there was a constitutional amendment change to make it every year. So in the even numbered years, it's still 60. In the odd numbered years, it's 30 days. So we're in 2023, which is odd. And the joke in the General Assembly is they're all odd, but it's an odd number. So it's only 30 days. So it takes a lot to get bills moved through. For instance, the decriminalization of medical errors, while the KMA and the KHA and every other entity that I've talked to this session in the healthcare field is for it, legislators are very unfamiliar with that. So it's going to be very difficult to get it through because they don't understand what that means, because it's a new concept to them. This issue, for this batch of legislators anyway, this issue's never come up before as something that they want to change. So it's a 30-day session, so it's always a challenge to get bills passed. Currently in the legislature, you have 100 House members, 80 of which are Republican, 20 are Democrats. In the Senate, these numbers changed last week. There are 38 members, 31 of which are Republican, and now 6 are Democrat because there was a special election in Jefferson County because Senator Morgan McGarvey ran for Congress and won. So the special election to fill his seat took place last Tuesday. So now there are 6 Democrats and there's 1 vacancy, and that other vacancy, that special election will not take place until April or May. So when I talk about reaching out to legislators and I talk about dealing with who's most important to talk with in terms of lobbying bills, and I say, you want to talk to leadership and the people who are making the decisions, for the most part, that's going to be the Republicans right now, only because they have super majorities in both chambers. It has nothing to do with, oh, I prefer Republicans or Democrats. When I came into the Senate, these numbers were pretty much flipped the other way. So you had a super majority of Democrats in both chambers. And so people typically went to the Democrats because they made the decisions on where bills would go and what bills were going to move. I do also recommend that folks reach out to Democrat leadership or whoever the minority party is, because at some point these numbers will shift again, and you're going to want to make sure you have relationships with those folks as well. And Dolores has already talked about, we do have 2 KNA sponsored bills, the workplace violence and the decriminalization of medical errors. And just to give you an update on the workplace violence, Dolores did a great job of giving you the thumbnail sketch of what this bill does. KHA had some real problems with it. And once they came to us and explained the problems, we agreed that there were some issues. And the problems were that, or the problem was that many of the things that we were asking to be done in this bill, hospitals, nursing homes, assisted care facilities, a lot of the facilities are already doing these under OSHA or accrediting entities, but in the legal system, because they're doing them under the accrediting and OSHA entities, those are not that's not discoverable information in lawsuits. And now under our bill, that information would have been discoverable and would have basically become an attorney's right to work bill, because it would have opened up these facilities for all kinds of information to have been accessed by attorneys who want to sue them. So we are in the process right now of writing an amendment so that for the facilities who are already doing these things, they are pretty much exempt from having to redo the things they're already doing. And then at the end, there is a section about retaliation for people who do make these reports of violence, so that, and everybody agrees that's in there. The hierarchy of these organizations wants that. I think the problem comes somewhere in middle management. People don't want upper management to know that under their watch that violence is taking place. So we're working on that, and that part will stay the same. The rest will have some changes based upon what entities are already doing, so that we don't open them up to more liability.
Julie,
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about HB 200?
And House Bill 200 passed out of committee. It's Representative Ken Fleming from Jefferson County's bill this session. It sets up a fund made up of both public and private dollars that would help fund 2 things: It would be sort of a scholarship fund or grant fund for folks to be able to access in order to go into healthcare, to be able to pay for their training. But it also sets it up on the education side for educational facilities in terms of funding for them as well, whether it be facilities or additional educators, whatever is needed on that side of the equation. So it's more of a pipeline bill as opposed to a retention bill, but we need both. So workplace violence and decriminalization are geared towards retention of who's already in the workforce now, and House Bill 200 is geared towards the pipeline. That bill does require an appropriation. So after it came out of the Health Committee this week, it's now been sent to the Appropriations and Revenue Committee. Because it's a short session, I'm getting a little worried because it's still in the House, and anything still in the House better move pretty quickly. So I'm trying to get our workplace violence bill heard this week in health, sent out next week, and immediately heard then in the Senate the following week. So that's short sessions are really frustrating and cause a lot of frustration and tension and pressure. So you need to establish, what we're talking about here though, is establishing a relationship with one of your legislators. And you can't start too soon. They need to have, it's so important that they have somebody that when they start thinking healthcare and nursing, you're the person that comes to mind. So what you're going to want to do is reach out to their office and request a meeting. Now, you're going to let the person know, or you can send an email, one or the other. And on that website that Dolores talked about, you can go on that same website and pull your legislator's email address as well. And you can send it to them. You're going to want to let them know that you're their K&A liaison, that you're the person that you want them to reach out to you if they've got any questions. Now, they may go to church, or they may be in a Rotary or someplace with other nurses they know, but you want them to know that you're going to be the subject matter expert for them. You want to tell them who you are, what kind of setting that you're practicing in. Are you LPN? Are you RN? Are you NP? What is your specialty? Those sorts of things, so that they have an idea of who you are, and then be very flexible. Right now is probably not a good time to say you want to meet in February. February is essentially going to be over in the next 48 hours. So less than 48. So you're going to want to understand that until the 17th of March, they're going to be really busy in session. But go ahead and reach out, because they're going to take it's 10 business days. It's almost 2 weeks that they're going to take a break. And that break is for the governor to have time to look at all the bills that they've passed. And under our Constitution, he has 10 days to sign them, let them go into effect without his signature, or veto them. And then they come back for 2 days, which is March 29th and 30th, to override any vetoes. They typically will take up bills at that time. They say they're not, but they always do. But that 10-day period, that might be an opportunity for you all to meet with him or her. And so if it's going to be in the district, just have them meet you someplace for coffee. Just tell them you need 30 minutes. And if it takes longer because they are engaged and they want to keep talking, that's fine. But after 30 minutes, just know they may need to get somewhere else. You could do it in Frankfurt if that's what they would prefer. I don't think anybody's going to want to do it because we're at the end of a session, and even I have trouble getting in to see them. I stand outside in lobbies a lot and I stalk. So as they come in and out, I talk to them, walk them to committee meetings and bend their ear on whatever. So it's going to be difficult. The other option that you have is where you work, there may be an opportunity that you can take them on a tour. Depending upon where you work, if that's an opportunity that would be appropriate, offer the tour, because sometimes they don't have an opportunity to see the insides of where healthcare actually takes place. But that's a decision you'll have to make in conjunction with what their time requirements and restrictions are. If you were going to meet in Frankfurt, it was going to be 10 minutes because they're not going to have any more time than that. But at this point, go for something pretty much back in the district and ask for 30, and they may give you more. Again, you want to, when you remind them of who you are, let them know what you can do. You can be the liaison when they have a question about healthcare, when they have a question of policy, procedure, law, come to you. And like Dolores said, you may not know the answer. So be willing to say, I don't know the answer, but I'm more than happy to get that information and get it back to you. The other thing is if you tell them something that's not correct, and that happens periodically because we're all humans. Once you find that out, go back and say, hey, I found out I said this, but in actuality, here's the answer. And I just wanted to make sure you were aware that I found that out, and they'll respect you for it. Nobody's going to go, oh, can't trust them anymore. That's not how that's going to work. They're going to respect the fact that you had the guts to come back to them and correct yourself, and they'll respect that. Ask them when you can help. Sometimes they may have things they need your help in that they'll know when they need it, or maybe you'll know when they need your help. So you might want to share those sorts of things. Session is a great time during the interim when they're not in session. There's committee meetings and there's issues that come up. You can let them know that if they need somebody to come testify about something on nursing, even if it's not you that's going to testify, let you know. And if it's not you, you'll find somebody who can come testify. So that's important too. You want to let them know where they can get in touch with you. Give them your email, the phone number, whatever, so they know how to reach out to you, and find out how they prefer you communicate with them. Some are going to give you their cell phone numbers because they want you to text them or call them. Some will just say, well, email me. Find out how they prefer, because if you start texting a legislator and that's not how they want to be contacted, they can get annoyed. And that's not our goal. Our goal is to have a healthy, happy relationship and build a foundation so that we can utilize that foundation for the purpose of supporting and furthering the nursing profession. And then let them know why you're the expert.
Julie,
Yes.
we've made these great little cards to give to our members so that they can leave this with their legislators or any other people who might want to get the opinions of nurses, where they can put their name, their phone number, and their email address. And we also want to encourage you that when you're talking with your legislators, that you use your talking points. Many of them, as Julie said, they really don't know about nursing, and they know even less about K&A. So the more you talk to them and the more you give them, the more that they have you as a resource.
And to follow up on that, when I was in the Senate, the optometrist had this kind of program. So whenever, and I had my own optometrist. So whenever I had a question in that venue, in that sector of healthcare, then I had not one, but two people I could go back to. And while my optometrist may not know what the association position is on an issue might be, I had this other person that I could reach out to. They were always up to snuff, or I knew they could get me the information, but they were identified in my mind. So I always knew who that person was. And that's the whole goal of this, is you want to be the first person they think of and reach out to. And why are you the expert? Well, nurses do everything. I mean, who doesn't like nurses, first of all? And who do we see more of in healthcare than nurses? And just explain, you want to be the expert in your field and you want to be there for them. The things you want to do is you do want to give them foundational information. You can't start out way up here. You've got to start at the bottom and build up, because not everybody is going to know this stuff. There's only one active, currently licensed nurse in the whole General Assembly. I'm trying to think if there are any doctors. There's one doctor in the Senate, the nurse is in the House. I don't think there are any doctors I'm blanking. In the House at this point, there was another nurse, but she retired last year. We have a former nurse in the House as well, but most of them don't have a healthcare background. So when you're going to communicate information to them, sort of start at the beginning and then build up. But at the same time, be respectful. Don't be condescending. Usually when I go in to talk about something that could be a little complicated or they might not be familiar with, I'll tell them, I'm going to sort of start at the beginning of this issue and work my way up so I don't forget all the points I want to tell you. And if you know a lot of this, just feel free to stop me and I can spring ahead. Keep the terms simple. You don't want to say, I use a lot of acronyms and things, big words that they're not going to understand. So I was always told, keep everything on a 5th grade level. If you talk on a 5th grade level, everybody's going to understand it. So the big healthcare jargon is really hard to use. And the acronyms, Dolores and Delanor have heard this so many times, their eyes are getting ready to roll to the back of their head. But I'm going to give you an example so this sticks in your mind as to why you don't use terms and acronyms. So I had a guy who came in to my office. Now remember, I'm chair of health and welfare. My brain is always thinking healthcare. So he comes in and he starts talking about semen. And I thought that was an odd topic to talk about. And he's talking about ports, which is healthcare as well. And nothing he said made any sense to me, although a little bit of everything he said all had some hint of healthcare to it. And finally, I had to stop him and go, I got nothing. I have no idea what you're talking about. I said, what's this got to do with semen? He goes, they're all mariners. And I went, okay, we need to qualify our terms. I'm thinking healthcare semen, and he's talking about people working on boats, on ships. So make sure you define your terms. I was in another meeting where they were talking about STDs and how it was causing, they had an increase or they had a reduction in STDs, which was and then that was causing a reduction in something else. And we're all sitting there in this meeting. And finally I asked, and it wasn't sexually transmitted diseases. It was like sick time days or something. And, acronyms can be a little dangerous is all I'm going to say. And be truthful, I've already told you, you don't want to exaggerate or lie, and you want to go back and correct anything that you've said that's inaccurate. Always be calm, cool, and collected. I was in a committee meeting almost 2 weeks ago, and the person who was testifying on a particular bill got rude, got curt, was disrespectful, was a little angry, and the bill is now dead. And it was all because of the way the person testified. It's the same thing when you're talking with legislators. I don't care if they're mean and nasty. Don't be mean and nasty back. Even though you may not agree on something today, don't burn a bridge. You may want to go back over tomorrow, because just think in your life, who in your life do you agree with 100% of the time? Nobody. You wish there were people like that, but they don't exist and their mothers haven't been born yet. So just understand, you may disagree today, just agree to disagree, and on another issue, go back and start all over again. But you don't want to sully that relationship. So there are things you can do to help them. You can offer to write letters of support or emails of support for their legislation during a session. There's things called green slips, and they literally are slips of green paper that there's an 800 number that people call, and they leave information on themselves and what bill they're calling about or subject, and whether they're for or against it, or if they want to leave a commentary. And legislators, most of them, take those green slips pretty seriously. So they may want you to generate green slips for a particular bill. You can also make phone calls to legislators on their behalf. When they're running for office, or if they've got legislation, you can do letters to the editor of newspapers from around the state to say, hey, this is a really good bill. People should support it. And those would be very helpful for legislators. And again, I go back to the cell phone rules. Find out what they prefer. And if they give you their cell phone number, protect it like Delanor protects Kelly Jenkins at KBM. Don't give it out, because that will hack off a legislator. If they trust you with their cell number, they're trusting you not to share it with the general population. And Delanor, I have in my phone, do not share. So here is that website where you can find your legislator. You can go in and look at all the bills. There's hundreds of them. I want to say 700 or 800 of them that have been filed.
You told me 850, Julie, and I almost fell over.
Well, now you know why I sound tired and look tired all the time. Because I have to watch all the bills. I have to make sure any amendments or committee substitutes, which is when they make changes and they do away with the old bill and they just start with a fresh bill in a committee. You've got to watch those, because those amendments can change something and it affect your clients. But you can find your legislator. You can look at their bios. The other night I was bored. Don't ask me why. I had 30 minutes. And so I started going through the Senate because there were some newer members and I just read their bios. One guy majored in German. I took German for 3 years in high school. I can get to a bathroom, I can request a check, and I can tell you to shut up. And those are my three, and I can ask you if you speak German. So those are the only things I know. So I thought that was interesting. So I went up to him the next day and asked him if he could speak German. And then he said something back to me that I had absolutely no idea. But when you read those bios, it gives you an opportunity to see, hey, is there something that we have in common? You know, they might talk about how they like to play pickleball, or they like to golf or play tennis, or I don't know, maybe they're in Rotary and so are you. And those are areas that you can kind of come together and help build that relationship on. You can also find out what are the committees and who are the committee members. And for legislators, what committees are they on? You can also search for the statutes, the laws that are already on the books, and the regulations that tell us how those laws are going to be enforced. And you can also, I always tease people, if you don't have a life, you can watch committee meetings and the session. It's kind of, it can be really dry, but sometimes there may be a bill that's going to be heard in committee. You can also get committee agendas, and there's a bill that you want to see what's going to happen. And so you may want to go in on either KET through this website or the LRC. What's that thing where you post movies?
YouTube.
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 They have, where they post all this stuff. So you can go and look through all that. I wouldn't recommend just watching it because you're bored, because it's pretty dry. And this is my contact information. If you've got a particular question about a legislator, maybe give Delanor a call and say, hey, I had this meeting and I just didn't get a really good vibe. Just understand, sometimes they have bad days, like we all have bad days, but I may know something about that legislator that may explain why this wasn't the best day to meet with them. We have one legislator right now who's having a really, really, really hard time coming to session and participating. Her son committed suicide late last year, and she and I've kind of bonded because my son died at about the same age 14 years ago under different circumstances. His was a car wreck, but she's just really struggling to get there every day. So she's had some meetings with people where she ends up crying and people are like, what have I done? Well, it's not anything they've done. It's just been a really bad day for her. So I may know something about a legislator that might explain what's going on if you have a meeting that just didn't turn out the way that you thought it should go. Don't think it's you, although I guess it could be. It might be them. And so give us an opportunity to go back and try to figure out what went wrong. Okay. I'll just leave it at that. Stuff happens. And sometimes we just need to have an opportunity to figure out why it happened and reset the clock.
Thank you, Julie. I
You're
think
welcome.
one of the key things that Julie mentioned is contact me. Julie does work for the KNA, which means she supports 90,000 nurses. And I'm afraid she can't take 90,000 emails, texts, or calls. So let me be the conduit so that I can help Julie focus on the priorities for the KNA and nurses. I would really appreciate that. And for many of you who think that contacting me is a bother, that's my job and I love my job. So it is not a bother whatsoever. And as you all know, I try to be as responsive as I can be. In fact, my phone number is even on the website. So obviously I want people to contact me. So I'm going to spend the next, how many minutes do I have? I think maybe, maybe 6 minutes talking about the KNA. And I'm going to go past quickly because Julie really enjoys talking about how to support legislators, and she took up all of my time. So I'm going to go quickly. Talk a little bit about KNA for those of you who are learning more and more about KNA. Briefly, I would like to speak about the KNF, which is our foundation, which raises money to give it away. And they do several programs. One would be the Nightingale Honor a Nurse, and then for scholarships. We also have the Kentucky Nurses Action Coalition, and their main focus is on the future of nursing, workforce development, school nurse in every school, every day, all day, and prevention of nurse suicide. And I don't know if many of you know, but I am the CEO for all three organizations. A little bit about the KNA, our mission, vision, and values, and I think that that's really important because the values are really what made me decide that I wanted to be part of the KNA. So our vision to be the voice for nurses and work for a healthier Kentucky, and then the mission advocating and engaging with and advancing the professional practice of nursing through leadership development. And you heard Dolores say that we're going to even be doing some leadership development on Wednesday, evidence-based practice, education, research, and least, but not entirely all is not least is membership growth, because there are 90,000 nurses in the state of Kentucky, but only 2,700 nurses are members of the KNA. And this is a members only benefit. There were a number of people, I think there were 8 people who wanted to attend this session that were not members. And I told them, become a member, you can come. They became members. We got 8 more people. And then we had some people who thought they were members already, but they were really followers. And so they joined as well. I also want to do a shout out for our board members. I want to say thank you guys for taking time out of your day to be here with us, and our committee members and also our cabinet members. So thank you very much. Our core values, which are really incredibly important in terms of policy and making sure that we are on the forefront of policy development that will impact nurses and the KNA. And then, as I mentioned, our core values are the values that made me decide that I wanted to be part of this organization, to include diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also justice. And that was before it became a fad that we should all be focused on those things. High ethical standards, lifelong learning, and accountability, and also stewardship. I briefly want to show you the org chart so that you can see we are very short on staff, but we support every nurse in the state, because by KRS, that is our responsibility as the Kentucky Nurses Association. But we have our Action Coalition, we have our foundation, we have me over here. We have 7 committees and 3 cabinets and 11 chapters. So wherever a nurse works, there is a chapter to support them. As you can see, we're everywhere a nurse could possibly work. Our strategic plan, we utilize our mission, vision, and values, and we put them into the strategic plan, and it's how we make our mission, vision, and values come alive is through our strategic plan. So together we can make a difference. We have a membership focus, practice development, education, research, leadership, advocacy and health policy, finance, sustainability, and voice and visibility. And this year, we did something incredibly wonderful. We now have task groups that are looking at these focus areas for the Kentucky Nurses Association. So our upcoming events, Dolores.
Okay. So events that we have are listed here. March 1st is our Nurses Day at the Capitol. We mentioned that earlier. I hope you can make that. And then again, the Legislative Conference is going to be on the 26th. May is our Nurses Month, and we are working on events and activities for that month. So more to come on that, but just know our month is May. Our license plate, you can see that here at the bottom. And we were hoping it was going to be available in February, but it has been postponed to July. Hopefully you will purchase one of these because obviously we're nurses and we want to support nurses, but tell your friends and families you do not have to be a nurse to have the plate. But for each plate that is purchased, $10 does go to the KNF, and that supports nursing scholarships and research and education. So hopefully you'll be getting that license plate this summer. There are continuous CE opportunities throughout the year that are free to KNA members, and we hope that you'll participate in those because it will provide you with information that will help you with this program as well. And speaking of that, we will reach out to you a couple of times throughout the year to check on your progress with building your relationship with your legislator and answer any questions, see how we can assist you. We're planning this fall, probably in August, to put together a forum where we'll all get together and just kind of talk about how the program is going, what's going well, what else can we do for you? It's new, so we definitely want to do a pulse check and see how we can serve you and make sure you have what you need. And then, again, continuous professional development is upcoming. Okay, and then do you want me to share, Delanor? We want to end with a little video and, just a little bit of inspiration for you. So if you let me share, Delanor, I will do that. Thank you for being here today, participating in this program to promote the profession as well as healthcare in the Commonwealth. I know we covered a lot of information. Please do not feel overwhelmed. It is not going to be time consuming, truly no more than a few hours a year. And, the return on your investment in time is going to be tremendous. I know this program is going to do great work. So contact us if you have questions. Otherwise, we'll reach out to you. Don't forget to send me your legislators if you've not already done that. And let us know how we can support you. But we do want to leave you with this inspiration. So enjoy this video and we will see you next time. So
hopefully we'll see you on Wednesday too.
Yes, that would be even better.
You'll get a chance to meet with your legislators. And we're going to be sending out another email tomorrow for all of you who have registered with the updated PowerPoint and data, but also where you should park and how you should come and enjoy the day, the Nurses Day at the Capitol.
Here's to the ones that don't ever take credit. Here's to the ones that won't admit it. I hope you know we're all thanking God for you. And here's to the ones on call all night. Don't think twice about the sacrifice. Here's to the extra mile that you take it to. Yeah, here's to the frontline warriors, to being brave for all of us. You didn't have to make him laugh or hold her hand like that. You didn't have to love, but you did, just to make them all feel better, yeah. You didn't have to pray all night. You didn't have to risk your life. If everybody loved like you did, the world would be a whole lot better. You didn't have to. No, you didn't have to. No, no.
You give it all like there ain't much to it. Fire's all around and you walk right through it. I hope you know we're all thanking God for you. Yeah, there's not enough words to say. You're a hero in every way. So I raise my glass for everything that you do.
Yeah, here's to the frontline warriors, to being brave for all of us. You didn't have to make him laugh or hold her hand like that. You didn't have to love, but you did, just to make them all feel better, yeah. You didn't have to pray all night. You didn't have to risk your life. If everybody loved like you did, the world would be a whole lot better. You didn't have to. No, to being brave for all of us.
In case you guys didn't notice, 1/3 of the people in that video are from Kentucky. And that video face sheet was developed by Jody Rogers' son, and they wanted it for this national video. And there's a group of nurses all over the United States that put in money to make this video. So when they used Jody Rogers' son as the face sheet, and they put in so many of our pictures, you think we're not proud? We're proud.
We absolutely.
Thanks, guys. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.
Thank you.